Samuel has worked with startups and small medium enterprises, both owner-managed and PE-backed. He has vast experience working with European and US multinationals, both in the UK and in Southern Africa. Samuel splits his time working as a consultant with large corporates and giving back through financial education and bridging the gap between finance and non-financial managers. After identifying challenges individuals and businesses were facing trying to navigate the crypto space, Samuel took it upon himself to invest over 1,000 hours of learning and is now actively involved in this space, helping individuals and businesses to understand developments in the area.
Over to you, Samuel.
Thank you, Tendai. Thank you for the warm intro. And if you would allow me to share my screen, yeah?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I hope you can all see my screen. Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone who's come through this morning to just attend. You could be doing a lot of other interesting things on a Saturday morning. I'm here to just speak to you briefly. As you can see, Dummies guides to cryptocurrency and NFTs. Dummies, I love Dummies. You know, I remember at one point in the late 90s when Microsoft was hitting the markets, there was Dummies to Microsoft, Dummies to Excel, you name it. And now we are actually, you know, in again another place where we are seeing new technology coming in. And I'm glad to be one of those dummies in that space. But I would just want to point something very interesting to you that I want you to pick on as we continue to share today. This is a new area. It's still the unregulated world. So it's an unregulated market, which makes it very different from what Tendai was just saying earlier on, just, you know, and Emmanuel alluded to it in the property space, as well as the colleague who will speak after me on the stock market, slightly different. So don't get too excited about this space, but there are a lot of interesting things in the space. So I'll just share it with you today. This is a very good overview for you about just more about what is cryptocurrency. And of course, for you to ask yourself, is cryptocurrency for me? What are NFTs really? Are non-fungible tokens for me? You know, those are key things you should always ask yourself when looking into new opportunities, etc. Then we'll also talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is, you know, all the potential risks and rewards that come in this space. And of course, I will share a slide with some resources for those who are interested to learn. Like I said, this is just a mini lecture really on this. And other info as well. I don't think we'll get time for that, you know, given I will speak hopefully for about 20 minutes. Help me, Tendai manage the time so we can give time for the questions and answers at the end. And in red, I've clearly put that across that I'm not a financial advisor. This is purely educational content only. Thank you. What is cryptocurrency? Interesting. I had to ask myself that as well, years and years back when this was coming in. I'm talking about, you know, 6-7 years, trying to understand what's happening in this space, and then you just leave it, because most of the time you'd hardly see people who really could direct you into the right places for info. But as you can see, I will not really go through all the slides. You can read that through. But what I want you to catch is it's digital and it's virtual currency. That's what you got to realize on that. And one key thing, it's secure, you know, of course, by cryptography. And what does it do then? It makes it impossible, hopefully, to counterfeit. And then there are many cryptocurrencies. That's one thing you have to pick and learn fast. On average, now we've got over 15,000 listed on CoinGecko, on, you know, CoinMarketCap, and you can go there and they are there ranking by their market share, you know, etc. And in that space, you know, try and focus on the first 10. If you've understood the first 10, maybe just go to the next 100. But trust me, if you're going beyond 200, the chances, the risks you're taking are even higher than you can imagine. And one other interesting thing about it, it's a decentralized network. And that's, you know, something that is quite key about this. Decentralization is very key. Those who know governments a lot, you see a lot of functions are centralized, and it makes it very difficult for resources to get to the end users, to get to the people. And that's more or less the same thing in the money world. If it's decentralized, that's why I'm loving this technology. The blockchain technology is amazing. And you've got all these distributed ledgers. And guys, as you start learning into it, if you're interested in it, you'll see a whole world on its own. And one thing that's quite key as well, which you find with this, is that generally, you find currencies are issued by the central banks, and therefore there's a lot of things that can happen with that as well. Here, it's decentralized, so you don't have central banks managing that. And then to some extent, that makes it sort of immune to government intervention. But touch wood, we can see for those who are, keeping up with current affairs, you can see what's been happening in the space. I've got this boring, sort of like, what is it? It's the stable that's here, this graph, but it's very, very interested in understanding decentralized. If you look at an organization, you see at the top, the apex there, you see there's the CEO of that pyramid, and goes all the way down to the lowest people in there. That's like an entity. But when you look at the blockchain, it starts changing. That's distributed network of autonomous stakeholders. So you've got an exchange, you've got the users, you've got the developers, you've got the miners, and that just makes it interesting in its own way, all working independently. And with you now, you have to find your space. Some people start saying, oh, can I mine Bitcoin? Can I what? Yes, you can. And trust me, it might not be as exciting as some people have put it in social medias. Types of cryptocurrency. Like we said, there are loads. So today I'll just focus more on the key ones and the big daddy of it all, right? But all of them, they claim to have a different function. Guys, mark that. That's very important. If you go on CoinGecko, for example, there's what's called a white paper. If you read that, some may find it boring, but it's exciting. You read that, it tells you a bit about the coin, the founders, the developers, and what they hope for it to achieve. And those are things you should take into consideration when you're considering any coins or playing in this market. The big daddy of them all, of course, it's Bitcoin. And it remains a myth, right? Invented by an unknown person called Satoshi Nakamoto. And up to this very day, we don't really know. Some have even theories saying maybe it's the CIA that invented it. Who knows? And so that's, again, like we said, if you go and read his white paper, it's there. That was produced in 2008. And from it, that was layer one, L1. You hear people talk about L1, L2, the L3 coming up. That was L1. So it sort of like started what many people are now playing in now. And of course, some say scammers. There are also scammers in that space as well. Ethereum, it really, it's coming to the market, and that's more number two. And it sort of looks at, it's sort of like a gas to the underlying smart contracts. And if you want to play in places like NFTs, which is what we briefly talk about, it makes things happen behind the scenes. So it's quite key to know, what's use cases. And I would always say, if you want to start learn about cryptos that have been there for a while now, and understand how they have evolved over a period of time. Right now, we've got a case in the US with Ripple. Why? Because it facilitates transfer into different geographies. And really, it's made the money transfer, moving money so quick, but already it's being challenged. That is it a security? What is it? It's quite key if you're going to get into this place to learn as much as you can. Now, with cryptocurrencies, is it for you? Okay, you can come in as an investor, you can come in as a trader. They're all different. And investors normally look long-term. Traders just playing with the market and just growing cash, which most of them don't invest in their assets of interest. However, you are the regulator. Like I said, it's not unregulated market. So you are going to be the regulator. So I pose this to you guys. If you cannot regulate your desires, just forget about it. It cannot regulate your eating desires. It cannot regulate, you name it, your weaknesses. You cannot manage them. You have to regulate them so they don't bring you down. Then in this space, you won't win because you have to regulate yourself. And are you looking long-term or short-term? These are things you should ask yourself, because cryptocurrency is very volatile, as you see with the graph that I have ahead. But the key thing as well you have to pick is it's not about timing the market, but it's about the time in the market. That's why I'm just whizzing through the slides because of time. What you should know about BTC, which is Bitcoin. Like I said, I'm just picking, for example, one of the cryptocurrencies, the Big Daddy. And it was birthed in 2008. And this, the recession that took place around that time. And we saw banks falling in the financial service sector, investment companies falling, sold properties, people going bust, you name it. And it serves as a store. That was the motive behind it if you go and read the white paper. So that's more like the digital gold, if you can say it. And if you look at understanding money and if you look at the history of money, if you look at things, the way they were backed on the gold standard and then it then moved again. And now we're talking about the US dollar. What are we backing it on? Now, Bitcoin tried to come in to solve that, and that's what they're trying to do. It's decentralized, we've talked about it, and one thing that's good about it is penalizes the greedy. And I can share more on that, what it does. Sometimes the price goes up, sell off, what does it do? Goes down, what happens? Others come in who have not had the opportunity to get into that space. And of course, it makes you the regulator, and market crashes are there, and it's a very volatile market. In the last, 7 months, Bitcoin was sitting on about 69,000. Today, as of this morning, it's sitting on 19,200 when I last checked early hours. So you can see how volatile it is. But there are a lot of interesting things to see on that. When it's going down like that, a lot of people get excited because that's an opportunity for you to jump in. But then what happens in most of the time is what they call FOMO, fear of missing out. When it was going up at 47, 50, 60, a lot of people were jumping in. They're like, oh my God, Bitcoin is going to 100,000. I'm missing out. And those are the people who always get penalized because they jump in at 40,000, at 60,000, at 69,000 was the highest. And what happened? It started crashing, going down. And the same people panicked because they didn't have a strategy. And they lost. So that's what you got to learn before you start playing in this place. It's very volatile, and of course there's a lot of FUD as well, the uncertainty and doubts that comes in this place as well. That's just speaking to what I was just saying. If you look at just from 2012, for example, it was trending around the 4K mark, and it's gone up over the years. As of last year, you're seeing it sitting in the late 40s, and then it went up as high as 69. And right now it's gone down, it's sitting at about 19,000. And liquidity is some of the key things you have to understand as you get into the space. In green, you'll start seeing that there are a lot of buyers getting into the market. Red, there are less buyers, and that's why you see it also going down, and so on. And I'll then briefly just talk about NFTs. I'm not going to go through all those slides, but what I just want you to know in this space, I've got another slide that just shows what NFTs are, for example. But the key thing, some can look at it and say, is it digital art? What is it? But the key to it is for you to understand the use case, to understand the kind of NFTs that you would be looking at going into. And then what are they serving? And I'll share a bit more in the next slides where we then look at classic examples. But that you can go through. NFTs is a very interesting place as well, and the use of smart contracts comes into play. And this is examples of what those NFTs are, non-fungible tokens. And if you look at it there, I don't know if you've heard about the board app. On average, it's hitting about 200,000. We've got celebrities as well who've bought some of those. And look at it, some have bought them for over $1 million. These are some of the things happening in this space. And when they were coming out, you realize that they were going for very low prices, but suddenly the high prices go up. key thing about NFTs, like I said, I won't bore you. You can read that other stuff, is knowing, is there a use case with them? If you look at this classic one, Afro Drugs, I got into those ones, the classic. A Nigerian artist, partnered up with an organization in Nigeria, which is serving sort of like girls who've been abused and so on, bringing them into communities and so on. And what they did through smart contracts, they were able to say whatever token that is bought, what this percentage is going to, that charity. And they raised massive amounts of money straight away, and that money is going straight to the charity. So these are some of the interesting things that are happening in the space. You look at this classic one, the Woodland one, part of that community is very interesting. What is the use case on it? Smart developers that are coming with this space as well. It's got use cases with it. You start doing blockchain courses with it. You start learning more about it. In this space, most of the time, it's about the community that you are part of. And of course, the Matrix, we all know about it. The latest Matrix movie, when it came out, the hype that was there, going to Christmas. And they were also launching these NFTs, participated in a few of them. And they've got the red pill, blue pill, turns into a game. So when you're going into the space, you could understand, am I just buying it to hold it like what I did in this case with this? It's also coming up with things like games as well. But the key for me was being able to give to charity through it. Then through this NFTs, the gas part of it to exchange the contract, most of them are still built on like Ethereum because that's the most secure at the moment. And straight away, these fees that you pay for it. So if I hold a bit of Ethereum, I held a bit of this, whenever each transaction happens, there's an impact it has on my side, which is great. Then our non-fungible tokens, for me, I'm talking about NFTs, understand the use case, check out the community, most of these things, but get into a good community. It's very, very important. And is there a use case? And does being part of it open doors? I've already given examples before. But what you have to also realize is that 95% of NFTs, end up at zero value. They really have zero value. So there's a lot happening there. Key is communities. I like understanding money. This is a good community, that you're already part of. And it's like that as well when you come into crypto space. You've got to make sure you get into the right communities. Risk and rewards. I'll start with the risks because I find that very interesting. Too many scams operating in the space. I think you've seen them before. People tell you that, Bitcoin mining, it's going to give you 100% in 2 weeks or what, guys? Forget about all that rubbish. In that space, you've got to look at it. When you play in different spaces, do you know the people behind it? And if you don't, I'm just giving you a few tips, not advice. I'm just trying to tell you what you should look out for if you're interested in the space. There are a lot of financial losses as well if keys are lost, right? If you lose your keys, that's it. You are your own bank, so you're not going to go to your high street bank and say, I lost my keys. I cannot access my money. Trust me, with stories like that have happened. A lot of hype and then down, especially when new coins are coming. Those communities, they'll hype it up. It comes up. The price can go up from 0 cents. Dollar goes all the way up and then suddenly goes down. But the guys who are behind it are clever. They would have sold and you are left holding nothing, according to no value. There's also crypto crashes that happen that are real. Like we say, it's an unregulated market. So if you look at Terra Luna is the latest in the last couple of months. The coin was trading at about over $100 per coin, and it's gone down to literally zero. And these things happen. There are billions of monies that just were wiped out, over 40 billion wiped out in hours. But there are also rewards that are in this space as well. It's a decentralized space. You are your own bank, and I love that. I would go on and on about sharing about that, but that's what I'm here to do. I'm saying that's what you got to understand. If you get into it, you are the one in control. There are high returns as well, especially if you get into the right tokens, cryptos, and get in and understand what you're doing. And over a period of time, of course, you see some of them will 2x. You see things like that when you start learning about that space. And I've just put in some resources as well that can help you that are behind, which you can visit those sites just to learn, just learning more about this. And there's an interesting book as well that's there, Bitcoin, the hard money you cannot F with. I think it's very, very key to learn about it because it takes you from when the recession 2008 started and to where we are. Smart contracts, I highlighted a bit about it. Common scams, I told you, if anyone wants to discuss anything, there's one called rug pull, where you get into something, and you're pushing with it, the next thing they'll just pull the rug off you and you're left holding nothing. And that's some of the things that happened. Other information that you read about it. Question and answers. Thank you. Back to Tenai.
Wow, thank you so much, Samuel. Gosh, my brain was in, when you're learning hard new things, I was really trying to process it all. But like you said, you simplified it, you made it clear what it is, you gave an insight on, why you can't ignore it, what's the hype about it, how does it operate, unregulated world where you become the regulator and you have to know how to regulate yourself. Many of us are still so emotional about everything, you let alone regulate crypto. I don't know if anyone has any questions, any things they want to ask. I'll share a quick little story. Oh, great. How do I get started as a beginner? There you go. Somebody wants to know.
Yeah, that's a very good question about this. The key things, like what I've already highlighted there, is you got to learn. One of the key things, the links I've already given you, those resources are quite key. If I just was to go back a little, you find that if you visit some of the sites, right? Crypto Abundance is a good community. They just share, every day, so you can start learning about it. Don't do anything. Give it hours. Like I said, I've put in over 1,000. Conservative about it. Maybe now over 2,000 hours in this space, just learning, right? And then coin market cap and coin gecko are very good. So if you've got a particular coin that you want to learn about, go there. There's a white paper. It tells you about how it's, what is behind that coin, the owners behind it, and what they're trying to achieve. So start doing the groundwork. That is the key thing about the space if you want to start. Then from there, I believe, Tenda will be coming up with even more interesting programs later that can help even beginners. Thank you.
That's awesome. Just looking in here, if there's any more questions. Everyone's just really grateful. Thank you for a balanced conversation. Yep. You literally demystified it. That Dummies guide, yeah, we're with you. We're with the program, and we will certainly be going. Each and every one of us, I hope, to just go and read up more. If you remember at the beginning of the conference, we talked about how our accounts are loaded with currency. We've got our time, we've got our networks, and we've got, our gifts, skills, and talents, and then our faith and our ability to take risks or chances or step out, so we are here. There's this network. There are the community I was talking about. Get into a good community. So if you want to learn more about that space, get into a community. Just go, observe, learn, take it in. Chennai yesterday was sharing, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday actually now, about property investment, the different strategies. She is a member of different property investment groups. So if this is something that tickles your fancy, and you could very well have a great aptitude and a knack for it, a lot of skills that people have are transferable. If you're quick witty, you've just got a sense of where things are going. I always say people who are often in the Christianese world, prophetic people can really do really well in such spaces, who are very discerning.
Got a couple of questions as well that have come up. If you want to come, someone was asking that, are we officially in the bear market? It's a very good question, because the bear market, what's happening. If you look at the fear index right now, it's at its extreme low. So that already tells you we're in a bear market, as far as you're concerned on that. If you look at the number of days, the months, if you look right now, crypto has just closed the Q2 at its lowest ever, and that already tells you a lot about it. So all those signs, that's a very good question. All those signs tell you, and they help you to know how to participate in it. Then someone says, so how do I know that the market is about to crash then? Very good question. There are a lot of things you can learn on it. One, when you start getting into the space, there's technical analysis as well. That's when you start reading the charts, the fundamentals as well. There's the news, a lot of the things are being driven by the US. The Fed right now, inflation is very high. Interest rates are going up because that's the only way they can try and manage it. So there are a lot of things, signs telling you what's happening. If you look at the fear index, like I said, if you look at the charts on trading view of Bitcoin to the US dollar, and then if you even look at the NASDAQ itself, at the moment, things are crashing, right? But the key thing that you have to realize is spend time learning. And that just takes you 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day to just pick up the news, what's happening. So when you've got a good resources that you use, you will know, and you know how to play in this game. One of the things others do in building wealth is what's called dollar cost averaging. It means that you have sort of like a certain amount. Some people have more money coming in weekly, others bi-weekly, others bi-monthly, others monthly. So you can set how much you can put in that space for investing. So if and you do it consistently, whether it's going up or going down. That's one key thing about it. So those are some of the things you can learn as you get into this space. And a crash, what does it mean? Again, it depends on what you're looking at. Thank you.
Wow, thank you for that. You've answered the question that I had as well. I was saying, does it work in the same way that shares work? Because most of us understand how shares work. And I think Alan's going to get into that a little more. But for me, when I hear the share price is down and it's a good, solid company, it's like, there's a sale going on, the prices are down, or the housing market has crashed. For instance, we all know if the housing market, the property prices have gone down, guess what? The house is still a 3-bedroom house. It means if you're buying it for cheaper, and you're doing it for the long-term game, so it's got an opportunity to go up in the future. So does it work the same way with crypto?
That's a very good question, because I think someone just asked that question more or less and said Bitcoin value is crashing. What are the chances that it will rise again? Very good question. It depends on how you look at it. It depends on what you think. This is new technology. It's been there for just over 12 years now, right? It's almost 14 years. White paper came out in 2008, but to start seeing traction in it from 2010. So if you've moved from Bitcoin buying it for less than $1 and buying it at 69,000 and right now buying it at 19,000, it's crashing. To be honest with you, all I want for Bitcoin is at 400 right now. If it got to 400, because I believe in the technology behind it. And I still believe that it will go up, but that's not financial advice. I'm just saying to you that how you will know if it will rise up. If someone is going to tell you that, it'll be a lie for you, or be lying to you. It might never go up again. Go and look at some of the crypto altcoins. Anything that's not Bitcoin is an altcoin. They have gone. Most of them died and gone. So it doesn't guarantee that it will go up again. But the key thing is, if you have a strategy in this space, if you first believe in the technology, because don't invest in something you do not understand. It's as good as you are dealing with those scammers who tell you that, in 2 days you have 40% and they are on Instagram. And you're thinking, wow, this fine woman, how is she making all that money? No. Forget about all that stuff. If you go and learn what's behind the asset class you are dealing with, then to you right now, I'll give an example. Some people celebrate when it's going down because that's a time for them to accumulate. But they accumulate at the levels that they themselves can manage. And that is what is key for you in this space. This is new technology. It might be over. Who knows?
Thank you so much for that. That was an awesome morning session. Does anyone else have any questions? So if I start trading today, where do I go? Okay, that like an organization or call or email. Somebody wants to start now. We've got that spreadsheet that Samuel presented for us. I'm going to give that to you, Albertine, to just start to do the research, because if you are saying you want to trade now, have you understood have you been studying already? And I believe maybe if when we're there, you will then get insights into that. But Samuel, you can get in touch with him. I believe his Was your contact, was it on the presentation?
Oh, thank you. No, I didn't put my contacts because, like you say, this is an unregulated market, so I didn't want to be flooded with communication from people. And at the same time, I believe that that is, understanding money is a good community, and I'm willing to help, but through this community.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Samuel. That's excellent. Now, I'm just going to show a little award ceremony for our people who have really contributed to this great vision of understanding money for the last 5 years. You've probably saw on the flyers, on the advertising, that it's the 5th year we're doing this program. We tend to do it for adults and we tend to do it for children as well. Samuel was so grateful for that. That was so, we needed to get to grips with what is this NFTs. Sometimes things get to a point where it's now embarrassing to say, okay, I've read about it, but I just can't get my head around it because I can't touch it. If I buy my car originally from, I see my car there, I see my house there, but this one, it's in the air. How does it work? So we're certainly going to be going into understand that space more.